Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. I am Jody Grunwald. This week, my special guests are Laurie Landy, founder, and Susie Rehr, executive director from Special Strides. And if you are watching via the YouTube channel, you are in for a special treat and will meet Johnny the horse, who is part of the programming that they provide. Special Strides is a multidisciplinary therapy clinic and adaptive riding center providing equine activities and therapy. Their beautiful location is at Congress Hill Farm in Monroe, New Jersey. Special Strides is a place where children and adults are inspired to discover their strengths through engagement with horses, therapy, and other farm activities. The therapeutic facility offers a variety of options, including physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, adaptive horseback riding, adaptive carriage driving, experiential learning, and equine facilitated learning. The stories that both Laurie and Susie share are not only heartwarming, but truly impactful and give us just a little of the scope and importance of the programming that they provide. Please subscribe to the Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel. Stream this podcast on all streaming sites. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at Today is the Day Live It. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Zach J. Applaudor Kids Foundation, a nonprofit organization that's making a difference in the lives of children with financial barriers who are looking for an ongoing creative connection through the performing arts. Please visit applaudorkids.org for more information and to learn more about Today is the Day and all the services that I provide through that organization. Please visit todayisthedayliveit.com, as I am a certified professional coach and work with individual clients and businesses to help them reach their goals. Have a great week, everyone. Hi, everybody. This is Jody Grunwald, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. And as I always say, every single week, I have the most amazing guests because all of them are doing something in the world to make a difference. And today I have two very special guests, Laurie Landy and Susie Rehr, who are here with me today. Hi, Susie, and hi, Laurie. How are you? Awesome. And I think we have a special guest. I think the special guest in the corner there is Johnny. Is that correct?
Here, Johnny, say hello.
Oh my goodness, Johnny looks like he's having a good time with the hay there. That's awesome. So thank you for setting up such a special location for us to really see what you do. And I'm just going to read, I always start reading a little bit about your bios so that our listeners can know a little bit more about you. And then we're going to get into your story, which I think is incredible. So Laurie Landy is a social entrepreneur who has dedicated her life to bettering the community. She thrives living on beautiful Congress Hill Farm with her devoted husband, Sam, 3 sons, and many farm friends. Congress Hill Farm is an equestrian center with a multitude of equine-related businesses. As an occupational therapist, Laurie founded Special Strides, a not-for-profit therapy clinic and Equine. I can't say the word equine. Am I saying it correctly, Laurie? Equine. All right, great. Equine Facilitated Activity Center. Approximately 130 clients throughout the lifespan enhance their lives through the partnership of the natural environment and engagement with horses. And currently, Laurie holds the role as development director. In addition, Laurie serves on several boards, such as the Jewish Federation in the heart of New Jersey, Special Strides, Hebrew Free Loan and Neighbors Fundraising for Neighbors. She's the chairperson for the Special Needs Task Force of the Jewish National Fund for Red Mountain Therapeutic Riding Center. She takes pride in her family farm as a haven for discovery, happiness, and attainment of mastery. Wow, Laurie, that was great. And I did miss a couple of things in there too. So welcome again. Thank you so much for being here. And then Susie is the executive director at Special Strides, a PATH premier center, and has provided physical therapy services to the pediatric population, integrating hippotherapy treatment principles for the past 23 years. Quality care, clinical education, educational presentations, published writing, and national involvement are hallmarks of her career. As an APTA credentialed clinical instructor, Susie has trained over 35 clinical education students from physical therapy programs, predominantly in the Northeast. Ensuring the present and future use of equine movement and hippotherapy in the treatment plans of physical therapists is her professional priority. She is currently pursuing her master's in organizational leadership at Quinnipiac University and is excited to use her new skills to continue to build Special Strides into the premier organization that it already is. Wow, you both have incredible bios, and thank you again for being here with me. So let's get started and learn a little bit more about both of you before we go into Special Strides. So tell me, Laurie, where did you grow up?
I grew up first in Brooklyn, New York, because civilization began there. And then I moved to New Jersey when I was 7 years old in Union, New Jersey.
Awesome. And how about you, Susie?
I actually grew up in Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. So I am probably one of the few people locally that does not have my personal roots.
Got it. Got it. I don't either. So where in Brooklyn, Laurie? Because that's where I'm from too.
In Sheepshead Bay, Herring Street.
I-
The culture civilization began in Brooklyn.
That is correct. I agree with that. I actually went to 1 year of Sheepshead Bay High School. So that's really funny. So we have that in common and didn't even know that. Look at that. I swear I learn more about people when I interview them for the podcast than before I even, even if I was friends with them. It's really kind of funny how that all works out. So what did you think, Laurie, you'd be doing in your career? Where did you think your career was going to take you when you were, heading from high school into college? What were your thoughts?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be in the medical field, and I love children and I love to play myself. So I knew I would be with pediatrics, with children, a specialist in development. I wasn't sure if I was going the path of therapist or I was thinking about becoming a physician. But I am very glad that I became a therapist because I can balance my life, and it was easy to balance with having 3 kids and being involved in other community efforts.
That's awesome. Awesome. And you, Susie, what did you think? Where did you think your path was going to take you?
In high school, I read a book about an individual who had sustained a spinal cord injury. And from that moment on, I said, I am going to be a physical therapist. And not only am I going to be a physical therapist, but I'm going to work with individuals with spinal cord injury. And I went to school in Philadelphia, and one of the preeminent rehabilitation centers for spinal cord injury was located there, and that was my first job. So I fulfilled that part of my dream. And then my husband got his residency in New Jersey, and I left Philadelphia for new aspirations and stayed in adult rehab, working in head injury. And I'd always said that if I can help individuals after a head injury, I can do just about anything. And I never, even though I'm like a kid at heart, I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would enter the world of pediatric PT. But then Laurie walked into my life, and at the right time, and I went one visit here at Special Strides long ago, and I was hooked.
Susie, I'm curious what book it was that you read when you were in high school.
It was a book about a woman. Her name was Johnny Erickson, Joni. And I'm pretty sure that the title of the book was Johnny. And she ended up as an artist who used a mouthpiece with the pens on her mouthpiece to paint them. Really cool, really inspirational.
Well, you both are very inspirational. So just the fact that you had that calling, both of you, not knowing each other all those years ago, and now together, it's incredible how our journeys kind of bring us together with people we would have not normally met. And so let's talk about Special Strides, Laurie. Why did you start the organization? Because, right, I mean, you wanted to get into the medical field, but now this is a whole different type of thing that you're doing right now. But of course, it's connected to the medical field.
So I believe it was divine intervention. There's few times in my life that I've had a very observable divine intervention, and someone was trying to fix me up with my husband who lived here on this beautiful farm, but my husband didn't know I was coming. And I arrived at the farm, I got out of the car, and this type of therapeutic intervention was just getting big in the United States. This was 1985. And it was very big in Europe, but the actual medical model, the medical application of using equine movement. And I did not grow up with horses, but I loved animals and I loved the farm. When I was a little girl, my dad would bring me to his friend's farm and something would happen to me at the farm. My senses would be ignited. I just would want every single smell, the smell of the hay. I loved every piece of it. So when I got out of the car, I just saw it. I said, this is where I'm going to raise my kids. this is who I'm going to marry. This is where I'm going to do therapy. I'm going to learn about horses. I just saw it. And my husband wasn't here, went to work the next day, told everybody, whoever lives on this farm, I'm going to marry. And then I happened to really like him. So we got married. And at the time I was working in a hospital and in the public school system. There's Johnny.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, he decided it might have been a good idea for him to knock over the video.
And with that, we'll be right back. Financial barriers should not limit creative expression. At the Zach G. Applaud Kids Foundation, we give children the opportunity to find their own voice, increase their self-esteem, give them a sense of belonging, and provide them with positive reinforcement through the performing arts. Visit applaudourkids.org to learn more about us.
What I've learned here is that everywhere you look, there's some way to incorporate therapy all around you. We use the animals, we use nature, we use the playground equipment. When I'm here at Special Strides, the horse is my treatment table and the farm is my clinic setting.
Go, Fuzzy Johnny.
When we started at Special Strides, incredible things happened in Michael's life. The preschool program, we were told we needed to apply for a bus with a wheelchair access because it was time for us to realize that this was the path that we were starting on. And then we went to Special Strides. So Michael's path changed.
There you go, Mike. Are you going to school?
He has progressed so much from the miracles that happen at Special Strides.
To see these kids who were up against so much, had so many challenges, sort of be like these little superheroes on their horses, and to be able to witness that, I have no words for what that means to me.
Everybody here is like-minded, and they're here for a reason, they're here for a purpose, they're ready to give of themselves.
And they want to make a difference.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, so we are back again with Laurie and Susie. They had a little bit of a venue change as there was a buzzing sound. As we all know, technology is just so fun lately. And so we just kind of go with the flow on Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. We're real here. And so now Laurie and Susie are indoors with it sitting under the Special Strides. Beautiful, it looks like a quilt. So it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm glad that you're indoors and out of the heat because today happens to be a little bit of a hotter day. So we were talking about, and Laurie had shared with us how she started, and what a great story that was, how you just like saw the beautiful farmland and then said, I'm going to marry who lives here. And then not only do that, but create an amazing organization through Special Strides over the years. And now, Susie, my question to you is to share more about the programs that happen over at Special Strides.
Okay, so we always say that we are therapy, recreation, and education on a farm. And we have this amazing 200-acre therapy clinic where the natural world is open to us. We provide physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, all with the movement of the horse as part of our therapy session. We also have amazing sensory playgrounds, balance challenge areas, and other elements within the environment to augment the use of the horse to create a very complete therapy picture and program for all of our clients. And then we have a recreationally based program, which is called adaptive riding. Some people call it therapeutic riding, but we think of it as adaptive because it is horseback riding that has been adapted to the needs of the individual, whether it's changes in equipment, changes in environment, or more critically, changes in how the instructor teaches the individual to meet their specific needs. Because everybody learns differently, everybody moves differently, everybody communicates differently. And I think everybody in this world wants a teacher that can communicate to them with their strengths in mind and not just thinking about what their abilities are, right? We want to always think about an individual's ability. So that's our therapy, our recreation, and then our third element is education. And we see education actually in pretty much everything we do. It has an educational component to it, but there are many facets of education on the farm. We have a ground-based program called Equine Facilitated Learning, and that's facilitated by an individual who is called an equine specialist in mental health and learning. And it's all about learning about the horse and about the individual from the ground up. So learning how to communicate with the horse and to read the horse and understand the horse via grooming, leading them, around obstacles or around the farm itself, and being able to understand and do a little bit of training with the horse, which really brings out a lot of confidence in individuals. And right now, we've all endured a lot during the COVID months. And so there are many, many people with what we term, and maybe somebody else has really used this term professionally, I'm not sure, but situational anxiety, individuals who don't necessarily have an anxiety diagnosis or didn't, and due to all of the elements of living with COVID, they have become very anxious and stuff. And so the natural environment of the farm and the interaction with the horses really, really helps with that. Because after all, if you can, move 1,000-pound horse, you can do an awful lot in your world. Education is also thought of around here as like true educational programming. Like we have kids who are homeschooled who come here to learn, a lot of science and a lot of interaction just with the natural environment. And education also permeates into therapy and interns. We've had over, in the course of our years, we've had over 35 physical therapy interns and about 20 occupational therapy clinical education students, and a variety of other interns that really, really support us. I don't think we could have gotten through COVID without our interns, because then we weren't relying on our volunteers, and which makes me sad and made me confident, because our volunteers are such a big part of who Special Strides is, but it just not having them here allowed me to control the flow of individuals in a much more small fashion. I think that our theme during COVID has been small but mighty. So we, like I said, so that's therapy, education, therapy, recreation, and education all on a farm.
Wonderful. And thank you for sharing all of that. Now, Laurie, how many years have you been doing this for?
23 years. Special Strides has existed as a nonprofit in our community, and we pull in clients from at least an hour away. We have some clients from Pennsylvania. We've had clients drive from New York. We are unique in that we do have the medical model. We do have the therapy piece. There's a lot of wonderful programs in New Jersey and at large that use horses in so many different ways, but we are a very well-known medical facility as well.
And so what are the ages of those that come to you?
So I'm going to answer, because everybody always laughs at my answer. I say we think of ourselves as a pediatric facility, but our pediatric clients range in age from about 18 months up to about 75. So we have quite a large range of pediatric clients.
So 18 months, share a little bit, what do you do with an 18-month, child?
First, we have to make sure we have the right horse. So you met Johnny. So it's very important that the horse's movement is not fast and nice and slow, and he can stand still. And of course, we should talk about our therapy horses. They have to be happy in providing. It takes a special horse and a special temperament
to provide this type of intervention, education, and recreation. So we have to have the right horse. It can't be too wide because 18-month-old is very tiny.
Yeah.
And sometimes we in fact ride sideways because the girth of the horse is too big. And you have to have the right professionals.
I was just gonna say the right team.
So very often with a little one, it is 2 therapists in the setting, in the session.
Right, because it's when very few facilities do see the really tiny kids, and Laurie and I feel that given our extensive backgrounds that we are able in a very controlled environment and controlled conditions to be able to provide services for the really young. But that's not our primary. Most of our kids really are more from age 2.5 or 3 on up, but we do have just a couple that we start very young, and once again, the horse is integrated into other treatment methodologies that we use. So it's all a very carefully planned and executed, and like Laurie said, it's usually the 2 of us together so that there are extremely trained hands.
There is a pre-assessment. So before COVID, the client would come in, we'd spend an extensive amount of time with the family and assessing if this was appropriate. And even if you're older, we're looking at the appropriateness of this particular intervention.
Right. So now if you have the right horse, which is obviously what you always have to, have, and you have the, and you're there with them, they're not always riding though, right? Because you said there's other programs. So they're not always on the horse. They could be helping to groom the horse. They could be helping to do other, so what other things, especially at a 2.5 to 3-year-old, what else would they do?
So actually, let me clarify for a second. Individuals don't participate. There are a couple individuals that might participate in all aspects of programming and services at Special Strides, but most often a child would be receiving physical therapy, and that's all that they would be receiving. Or they would be participating in equine facilitated learning, and that would be what they're receiving. Do you know what I mean? So it's not that they get a mixture of all of those elements at one time. But if they're here for physical therapy or occupational therapy, so the real young kids that you're talking about, so some of the time during a therapy session, they might be on the horse, they might be on one of our specialized swings, they might be
in the clinic, and
and
we're doing traditional occupational therapy or physical therapy, and then we're coupling it. So each person that comes here, whether they're 18 months old or 72 years old, there is a prescription. There are goals that the team comes up with in conjunction with the family, and we're very big on family. We welcome families here. It's a place of tranquility for the families, for the siblings. There's other farm animals. We have 200 goats. We have right now, we're having babies like every day. So it's a place that's very inclusive. We wanted to build this as an inclusive place for families to feel that they're accepted and loved. And certainly they're very excited about seeing their loved one on top of a horse, because it's so unique and non-clinical in that it's not in 4 walls and white walls in a setting, but it's outdoors.
And I think that the fact that it is such a different environment, also we get that opportunity to really educate the families. Like I feel like as a therapist, we don't always, in other environments, we might not have as much sometimes one-on-one time with some of the parents, and so it gives us that opportunity, like especially for children who are really hard for some parents to hold. because of the severity of their disabilities. We get to see them doing really functional things, carrying them, putting them in and out of their cars and car seats. And it gives us that opportunity that I think sometimes other times the interaction between the therapist and the family isn't always as evident, especially if they're receiving therapy in the school system. You know, in perhaps other outpatient clinics, there might be some of it, but there is so much opportunity for us to communicate with the parents that I feel like parent education is a really big part of our therapeutic interventions, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love what you said about going to the car, because transportation is a really big deal. And when you're in a school system receiving treatment, or you're in a clinical setting, oftentimes the therapist is not going out to the car. So even something as simple as teaching the family positions in the car, or how to take your child in and out of the car to protect themselves, to protect their own backs and their own bodies, and also to do it in a therapeutic fashion. You take for granted those simple things, but they're so meaningful in your life.
I mean, many a parent has said to us, oh my gosh, I never learned that before. You know, you're the first therapist that, and they could be, have been struggling for 3 years trying to carry their child. And, you know, no other therapist recognized it because they didn't have the opportunity to see it. Had they been able to see it, I'm sure they would have addressed it. But we have that very unique opportunity to see so many functional things for parents and hence for the child. It makes a huge difference. And, you know, if I could share one small story about this also is, you know, we've all had our kind of like aha moments, you know. So my story that goes along with Laurie and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is one of my clients who no longer is a young boy. He's getting to be a preteen at this point, but he started around the age of 3, and his early intervention therapist had told the mom, you know what, he is starting to, or maybe it was 2.5, he's starting to walk, but I don't think he's ready or gonna let go of your hands for probably like at least 6 months. Her mom's like, okay, and they had also been talking to her about maybe that she was going to need a wheelchair and after the first session, she comes back the next time. And I said, oh, so, how was your son this week? And were there any things that you saw changes in him? And she just kind of looked at me like, you expect to change in a week? And I'm like, yeah. I said, so did anything change? And she said, yeah. She said, he walked all the way across our living room all by himself. And it was so powerful to that parent. And then I actually got an email from the early intervention therapist, and she's like, what did you do? And I said, sometimes when we incorporate the use of equine movement in practice, amazing things happen because of how the horse moves. And like Laurie alluded to, the child borrows the nervous system of the horse. They borrow a lot of things from the horse. And one of that is the 3-dimensional movement of the horse that brings the child's pelvis and trunk and eyes and head all through the same movements that you and I do automatically. And they do it while moving through space. So as all of this visual information is going past, which is what happens to us on a daily basis, right? And visual information goes past us. So it creates a learning environment for the child's brain to say, oh, wow, these are the pathways that need to be connected so that I can walk. And they've just taken 2,500 steps in that 45 to 60 minute period of time. And that's 2,500 learning opportunities. That's huge. So this, this parent always thinks back to that time and is like, you changed my son's path in life.
And actually the promo video that I sent you that I hope you attach with this interview, that's is on the interview. So you can hear and see the little boy when he walks for the first time pulling his backpack into his preschool class. It's very powerful and very meaningful.
It's incredible.
One of the other things I'm super proud of is that we also, part of our mission and our board of directors, we have a financial aid program for our clients. And so right now, we've all, both of us, and you know, Jody, because you've been in a lot of different nonprofits, we wear a lot of different hats.
Oh, yeah.
And right now, my hat is, as besides treating some clients, is development and raising funds. And one of those funds is the Stephenwood Memorial Fund. So we give out about $160,000 a year. There's an application process, but whoever walks through our barn gates is going to have an opportunity, regardless of what their tax return says. We know that when you have a loved one with special needs, there are a lot of costs. And we believe in the power of this intervention in so many ways: psychologically, motorically, sensory, family network and unit, and self-confidence, that we're going to do whatever it takes to help someone receive services and programs here at Special Strides. And that's a shout out to all of our community supporters and that we've had over the years that help us in so many ways. And they're invested in what Susie and I are talking about today.
Yeah, and you know, Laurie, today when you, on your bio, you use the word social entrepreneur. And that's such a great word for what we do. And I think that Jody, you know, you can hear the passion.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I could feel it, not just hear it, I could feel it.
And, you know, I think that one of the reasons that you're so successful raising monies for Special Strides is that we have such a dedication to our clients and our families, because we know what we do makes a difference. You know, like I have no doubt. And so therefore, I have to do everything that I can to allow that child this opportunity. And so, you know, Laurie works really hard to find those funds. I work really hard to help her find those funds and to make the whole program work together, the organization. I think that, you know, our values of our organization are respect, possibilities, positivity, empathy, knowledge, and teamwork. And teamwork is absolutely one of the foundations on which we stand. And there's so many different teams: the development and the program, the therapists and the horse leaders and the sidewalkers, the parents and the therapists and the kids, like so many teams. And all of our supporters and our investors in us are part of our team. And the Stephenwood Memorial Fund is the icing on the cake for us. It's our reason for being.
So how do people find you? What's your website and social media?
www.specialstrides.com, and Facebook is Special Strides NJ. And we also have an Instagram handle, but I'm not 100% sure of that one.
We'll find it.
We'll get back to you, Jody.
Right. And typically, word of mouth is our biggest way that our clients find us. You know, and there's several physicians in the area that believe so strongly in what we do. A lot of early intervention therapists believe very strongly in what we do. So they just keep sending kids. We'll end up with, at one point we had 3 or 4 kids from the same classroom in one of the schools, because one person started, then the next, then the next, then the next. I mean, I've had, you know, directors of services from schools call me, "Are you still taking clients?" You know, like, so we are incredibly well known in the community, and people know our horse. You know, if we walk out anywhere, "Oh, is that Special Strides logo? Oh, are you part of Special Strides?" Right?
Awesome. And so like I know through the Zach J. Plutter Kids Foundation how much music means to the kids that are in our programming and that connection and what it does. And you know from your programming what the horses, what they provide and also what you provide, because it's also it goes hand in hand. I wanted to just talk for a minute about the connection that the individuals who are part of your program have with those horses. I'd love for you to walk us through when they start to connect with the horse, and then how about the horse connecting to them? Like, can you share a little bit about that? I wonder what that's like.
So I'll give one small vignette, and Laurie, I'm sure has some in her pocket also, but a young lady who, and actually this clip might even be, this instance might have gotten caught on camera on one of our clips. And so she's an individual who's been with us actually since she was about 3 years old, off and on. And she currently receives physical therapy services and off and on has done equine facilitated learning and groundwork, or sometimes the groundwork is incorporated into her PT session. But she was doing some work with a horse in a round pen, and the horse was moving. She had gotten him moving, and she accidentally tripped and kind of hurt her ankle briefly, and she came running right into the center where that young adult was standing, and kind of dropped her head right into her, like, help me, take care of me, protect me, I trust you. And it was so sweet and so genuine, and so much what that young lady needs, that confidence that comes from somebody saying to you, I trust you so much to protect me.
Right.
And really, really powerful. That's just one of the gazillion that come to my mind.
It's beautiful.
So horses interact with each other with energy. So there's an energy, they move each other in the fields with energy, and they can feel your energy. They can feel our client's energy. So one of my stories, I was taking a young lady for a tour of the farm, her very first tour, to see if she was going to engage in one of our programs or services. And she happened to have a trauma as a young girl, actually a sexual abuse situation as a young girl. And she forgot about it until she became a teenager again, until she became a teenager. And it all bubbled up for her, and she was having a very difficult time. So her family brought her to Special Strides. And we were walking and touring the farm. It was feeding time. So the horses are on like a time clock. They know 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, we're gonna eat, and their heads are over the fences and they're waiting for someone to take them in to bring them to their food. So they were all heightened as we walked over. And this young lady went up to this beautiful horse that we have named Gypsy. And Gypsy hung her head over the fence and nestled her head into this young lady's neck. And it was feeding time. She's probably only thinking about feeding. And I professionally couldn't cry, but the young lady was just caressing her, and they were having this love fest. And I told the owner, the owner of this horse, about this interaction, and she said to me, of course Gypsy knows, because I had the same issue and I told her everything, and she was there for me. And this behavior was something that I've never seen with her. It was so beautiful, so heartwarming.
It's interesting that same young lady has had a second, like, wow story. Do you remember the story of the goats with her? So our goat herd also is incredibly therapeutic. So there was an instance where the mamas and babies had all been together in one of the really big paddocks, and then they took out all of the mamas and the female babies out, and they must have left accidentally one female baby, and they were this young lady, and actually this was during the time that she was receiving services here. They had gone over to the paddock, and there was some issues going on with that baby. And this young lady marched right into that paddock, picked up that baby, like through this sea of other, goats, picked up that baby, carried her, and marched out into the woods to the paddock where the mama was, and returned her to her mama. It was like, oh my gosh, like you can't make this stuff up. You know what I mean? And nobody crafted these situations. Nobody, kind of set the stage. They just happen. And it's incredible when it happens.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody can ever understand, because I know what you're talking about. There's a fulfillment in what you're dealing with each and every day that you both get, that others, I don't know, and I don't want to speak for you. I can just say, the work that I do through Zach G gave me a fulfillment that I never thought I could ever experience. I've worked in other jobs in other places doing fabulous things, but I never had received that same fulfillment. And it sounds like you're in that same place. It's unexplainable almost. Would you say that?
Yes, and it's so gratifying that I think Susie and I could both attest that I have to work really hard at keeping a balance in my life, because we are making such a difference for people that it's really addictive, and you can be doing this for hours and hours because it's that powerful.
Yeah,
it is addictive to get that.
I could probably work 7 days a week and not feel like I'm working because I'm doing what I love. And, it might be easier if I had less hats to wear, but all of those hats are so meaningful to the organization and so meaningful to me, because we all have different parts of our brains that need to be fed. So, no, it is very addicting, because what we do, it's really empowering to know that you actually make a difference for somebody every day of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to ask you guys what I ask everybody. Thank you so much for being on. It's my last question that I ask everybody who's on. And it's, if you knew then what you know now, what would that be? So Laurie, do you want to go first?
It's a very hard question, because I feel so fulfilled as a human and in terms of my path. I thought about some pearlisms or words of wisdom, and one of them is to surround yourself with amazing people that are your mentors that you work with, whether you're a teenager or you're in college or you're at the end of your life. It's just the people you surround yourself with help you engage what your personal mission is. I think I wish, and they don't do this very well in therapy in school I think in the medical profession in general, is the business of what we're doing. I learned by doing about becoming a businesswoman and about understanding all the business elements to it. Perhaps if I learned it when I wasn't in business, I wouldn't have digested it as much. And the other piece is that I honestly thought I was Florence Nightingale for a very long time, but Florence Nightingale has to think about other things besides making a difference and supporting the entity from that business perspective, and supporting myself from a self-care perspective. I tell all the young therapy interns that come to us for field work that their body is a tool, and they have to take care of their body. They have to physically take care of their body and mentally take care of their body, because the work that we do, and I think doctors and nurses and therapists and teachers can speak to this, it's so addicting that you really have to be forced to have a balance.
That is very, very true. It's a dopamine rush every day, all day long, right?
Yeah. So I think that if I had, words of wisdom or things, is that like seize the day, seize the opportunity. You never ever know what opportunities come your way and what you're going to do with them, but you have to be ready to do it. Like I said early on, I went to PT school to work with adults with spinal cord injuries or brain injuries, and that's what I started out doing. But the pediatric clients that I work with just ignite me in so many ways. And I laugh because one of my daughters are both PTs. One works in pediatrics and one works in with adults. So they're still the two sides of me. But, you know, as Laurie said, we all worked really hard, have worked really, really hard learning all different things, all sides of things, and learning the business end, I think, has been very fulfilling as well as very challenging. And I think that a long time ago, Laurie, you came back from something and you said, you know, I was asking somebody about how do you manage people? And they said, you don't manage people, you ignite people. And
I love that.
I had that on my, it's still up on my my door. We each pick up, you know, isms from each other all the time. And that one is up there. And I always think about igniting people, whether it's the clients or my PT students or our staff. And, you know, I think that passion will go on for a very long time.
Susie, I hope you don't mind if I borrow that, and I'll give you credit every time I say it, but I love that. I've heard different ways of saying you don't manage people, and there's another piece, but ignite, I think that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. That's a wonderful way to put it. Now, I know you, before we end, I know you have some events coming up, I believe, and I know that everybody can go to your website to take a look. And again, Laurie, do you want to just share that website with us one more time?
Yes, www.specialstrides.com, and on 10/10/21 we are having Back in the Saddle, and it is a hybrid event. You can join virtually or you could come live. We're gonna have bluegrass bands and food trucks and auction. It's on the farm. It's gonna be super awesome. So anybody that wants to join that, whether virtually or live, you can go onto our website and find that. Thank you so much, Jody, for sharing that. No, because this is airing September 1st.
You're right.
Yes. And you know what, Laurie, thanks for sharing that. And I know that sponsorships are always welcomed and donations are always welcomed in nonprofit. And you can, I know that you have a lot of stuff on your website. I was able to take a look and I love it. And I also want to come visit the farm. I totally want to come visit. I'm sorry.
Jody, thanks for what you do for our community in so many ways. You have been so inspiring to me during the pandemic, and I am so glad that we connected.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad we connected too, and I'm so glad we were able to work out the issues, and we were able to tell, and we'll be able to tell some of the Special Stride story, but the story goes on, and please, like I said, and I don't want to say it too many times, but go to the website. There's so much there. I've spent some time on there, and thank you to both of you for the incredible work that you do and helping to be change makers. Every time you are with a child, you're making a difference, and or an adult, wherever you're in the path of, you are making a difference. So thank you for doing that. Never forget that. Keep that energy going. And also, like you said, make sure you take care of yourselves. That's the most important part, because they can't do all these things without you. So thank you both. Thank you to Laurie and Susie for being guests today. Thanks again. And
have a great day.
Oh, you too. And I'm just going to say what I always say at the end. Today is the day. You do not go back. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what are you going to do today to take one small or large step to get yourself closer to your goals? Have a great week, everyone.